What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Algorithm, episode 13. David here with JC. Uh, kind of moved the time this time around. Wanted to test it out and see if starting a little bit later and making it an after hours podcast was the move. And we're excited about what we're going to be talking about today. We plenty of cool projects, cool campaigns out there. But as I always start, JC, what's lighting up your feed this week?
A little bit of everything. It seems like every time that I jump on either X or Instagram, it is like we always say, a brand new industry is getting taken down by AI, or at least that's what a bunch of people are posting about. So this week, agencies are dead because of Perplexity Computer and because of cloud. However, that is taking up my feed, but they are kind of correct in some of their assessments of the current state of AI right now, because it's pretty interesting what's happened in the last couple of weeks with cloud and Perplexity Computer and everything that's going on. So that's really what's blowing up my feed. I also just moved as well, so the last week and a half has been a little crazy with our move into our new home. Moving is terrible. It's beautiful and terrible at the same time. So I've been dealing with that, but I love the new time, man. So yeah, excited, and we get to drink.
Yeah, cheers.
At our 6 o'clock. It's frowned upon to drink at 4, but not 6.
Yeah,
apparently.
so this was the ultimate reason why we made the shift. No, but kind of getting into it today, we have pretty much a brief slate, but we're going to dive into each of these because there's a few kind of newsworthy topics that we'll be going through, as well as like different projects that we came across we felt is worth discussing. As usual, whenever there's a brand refresh, we love to dive into that, try and analyze it, where it's at, and also doing follow-ups. Like today, we did talk about teasing of the Tennessee Titans new identity, but that was also before it was like a full launch. And since then, there has been a full rollout. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. And then the inevitable discussion about the state of AI. Mainly we'll dive into Perplexity, but we'll have other kind of touch points in there. And then lastly, some creative campaigns and, content pieces we've seen that, caught our attention, we felt was worth covering. And as usual, we'll try and understand the why behind it and what the takeaway is. But we'll kick it off here with the Tennessee Titans. So as we mentioned about 2-3 weeks ago, when we saw that there was a leak that the Tennessee Titans were going to be updating their identity, not just the logo, but the color palette, all these other things. We now have seen them start to utilize it from photo shoots, product shoots, videos, a bunch of different executions and rollouts of the identity. And you can tell here just at a glance like what this looks like with the logo, with the new color palette and the uniforms that are updated. Obviously taking massive inspiration from the Houston Oilers, but it's a great kind of middle ground where they took at the essence of what made that brand so special, that version of it, and modernized it, and kind of gave their own twist on it. And even here, just seeing at a glance the logo and some of the alternate marks that they have being used there, that's really what you love to see, seeing it mocked up, seeing it come to life. And so and really the biggest thing is they made an entire page on their website that showcases the brand in action. So if you look here, you have like everything from a video of the team and super cinematic stuff that you can see kind of in action. And I think that this is where it truly comes to life. Like when people thought like, oh, they're just going back to a more nostalgic look, it's like, yeah, but look how it's used in a modern approach with CGI, with visual effects and amazing cinematography. So I'll scroll through this, but JC, what are your thoughts here as I kind of go and show some of these examples on the website?
Yeah, I feel the opposite with this rollout as I did with the Truff rollout. I love this. I love everything about this rebrand. There's a lot of storytelling behind it. They're going back to like the like born in oil, you know, Oilers kind of inception. The colors are amazing. I love when brands understand their demographic, and if you're any brand right now, like the biggest breadwinner, the biggest generation that's putting money towards this, especially sports, are millennials. Like millennials right now are getting into that big breadwinners. They're the ones that are buying the season tickets probably at a higher pace. And millennials love nostalgia. Like for whatever reason, we're a very nostalgic generation, and
Yeah.
you're leaning 100% into that right here. You know, and I love it. Again, the colors, the storytelling, the logo, the way that they've been able to treat this as like a new chapter in their story, not just a logo, I think is incredible as well. I think a lot of teams have dropped the ball on new logo revamps and kind of like the rollouts, and not treating it as like this new chapter in their history, but just treating it as like a new color or a new scheme or whatever the case may be. This is how it should be. This should be an entire new chapter, new direction in whenever you do a rebrand, because that's what it is. So I love it. I love everything about it. I love the kind of like the icons or the secondary, third like logos that go with it, the symbols, the new typography, everything about it is amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I mean it's always like that's why you have to hold your breath whenever there's a leak or something of some sort of identity. Actually, another sports team that is in that mix that they're starting to leak out that there likely is a rebrand coming is the Minnesota Timberwolves in the NBA, and so again, you have to wait to see it actually being rolled out, and you have to see like some of these documents. I think this is just more well done because this is done in a way that an agency or a branding studio would do it, and showcasing like these are the marks, this is how it's in use, this is just like a guideline to kind of show you what it's like. And then now if you go to the website, this was just a sub page. Now from my understanding, everything on the website is already reflecting this new look and feel, the colors, the fonts and everything. So I think that that's like the biggest thing is trying to like understand all of this, and they did a really great job, as you see here, of like showcasing how it is all cohesive and tied together. And this is the kind of work that shows you that AI is coming right now, and there's a lot of tools that you can use to shift and change the way that you operate. But like this is well thought out. This is something that it takes a team, a human touch to be able to showcase how this. You can't just prompt this. You have to guide it. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that's you can just duplicate. So yeah, that's my take. I think that if you go to their their Instagram and their X and their different social accounts, like the rollout of the video stuff, both from long form to little short form snippets, just shows you like this is how you take something that's has heritage and then just modernize it, because all the video footage, as you see, has like this new modern take on how you capture content. So I think that that's even here, like there's some BTS of like when they're doing the hype video and then they slow it down and all that kind of stuff. Like really cool stuff. I can't I can't say anything else other than positive things, because it's like this is just the depth
Well done.
of what you're doing here is so well executed. So I don't know if there's anything else here on this side of
no, even the videos, man, the videos that they've come out with have been really good. They've been there was one like very heartfelt video of a father and him going to the games as young, and then now older going to the games with his grandson or something like that. Like they hit it on the nose with this. They really did. And you know what's crazy is you don't realize how many freaking touch points a brand like this has, like how many different things they have to take into consideration when coming out with a rollout like this. Like this brand team had to take so many minute, mundane things into consideration.
Yeah.
That, like, again, just everywhere that I've seen this brand, every single detail has been on par, has been well thought out. To your point, so yeah, love it, and I love it for Cam, man.
Yeah.
A
Yeah. Cam
fellow
Ward
Kane.
deserves. Yeah. So it's nice to see it, come to life now, and also starting to see more and more people start to like, as they see this, like some of them were like unsure, like shitting on it, and now you're starting to see more and more positive sentiment. And it's like that was my point at the beginning of the show. You need to see it used. Just because you saw it on a little plush football and like a mock-up of a helmet doesn't mean that you know exactly how it's going to look and how it's going to feel. And yeah, I think that they're also going to see a massive spike in merch, especially everyone trying to get the new stuff. It's probably going to be the most popular apparel in the NFL this upcoming season, at least towards the top. So, I think that they knocked it out of the park, and kudos to that team and for them being able to showcase how a real rollout is done. Like just really going into the depths here of everything that it entails. This was that video. We're not going to play it, but the video that you talked about, the generational side,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
there it is.
good.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the rollout, showing like everything from BTS of a production shoot with the players to like a narrative driven campaign that showcases the fan and like their journey and the generational side of it. Like thinking of all those things is part of a good execution for this kind of stuff. It doesn't just take like a mock-up and showing the jerseys and the players wearing it like this. There are many layers, especially when you're a team that's closely tied to a city, right? Like there is a civic level of pride that comes with this, and you need to be able to kind of show all those layers when you're a professional sports organization like the Titans.
Yeah.
So
kudos to them, man. I hope the Dolphins are watching.
yeah, for real. I think this is a sign for them to kind of do what everyone wants them to do, which is do something that has a more nostalgic take and not, not continue to lean into that latest version of the identity. And another one here, this one is, Sprite debuted an updated identity.
Caught me off guard, honestly.
Yeah, it kind of, but it's subtle again. You know what it reminds me of is the Pizza Hut one. Remember
Yeah.
we were showing like it wasn't like this massive departure. It's more of like a slight refinement. It still has characteristics of the original identity or the one that's from the 90s that people really fell in love with. I think here playing a video showing a little bit of it.
I like this better than the Pizza Hut one though. If I recall when we talked about the Pizza Hut one, they kind of like toned down the colors and it didn't feel as nostalgic. Like to me, I know it's subtle, but the lemon and the lime on the eye, like that really makes a big difference in this logo. It gives it a lot of character.
Bringing that back because I get it for simplicity here, but this is part of the identity that everyone recognized was the two things. It's almost like their version of the MasterCard logo, like it's you remove that MasterCard and it feels like, what is this?
I love it. Again, I know it's simple, but I love it. And it looks a little sleeker, but it still has the nostalgia. I really like it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's so like it brought back that it's from 1989, the lemon lime symbol, which they would call Lyman. So this is kind of like a good way to bring that back into the fold. We have another video here showcasing a little bit of it in action. Just like 3D renderings of the boxes and what it looks like. Some hero shots here. This one's definitely stylized, has a little bit of that almost like an airbrush feel to it from like the 90s. But feels more modern, but definitely has that kind of nostalgic feel to it. And then showing it, like shown on a billboard with modern photography, more like a Gen Z kind of look, and I feel like it's a good way to showcase all the varying ways that this brand can be shown in today's digital landscape and media landscape. The photography feels like it's taking some of that fisheye lens approach, right? Like almost like warping and making it surrealistic and then you go macro and look at like the bubbles, but it has like this like almost psychedelic blur effect that gives it that feeling of surrealism at the macro
Mm-hmm.
level. And here you kind of see it as well, like just showing all the different things at
Yeah,
a
yeah.
glance. Right? It's well
Again, it's
done.
just the simple lemon lime, like adding a little bit of that old school feel. Like you said, updating a little bit of kind of the presentation and these little details. Like, very well done.
And this is the interesting part that they got into sonic branding again, and so
Mm,
they introduced like the Sprite sound, and it was produced by Mustard, and blended his own beat, pretty much like with Sprite inspired sounds. So we could listen to some of it here.
yeah.
So very like ASMR
Mm-hmm.
mixed with like hip hop. I think it's a good little touch. That we've been talking about sonic branding for a bit now, and how that's making a comeback because of all these different touch points and layers that a brand has to exist in. Right, like this is an end cap on a commercial. It could be the beginning of a spot if they sponsor something on a podcast or audio focused. There's and obviously on social you could use it in so many different ways. So I like to see more brands leaning into this, and especially with them like leaning into that whole fizzy sound and blending it with the whole remix side of like hip hop and R&B and pop in general. So uh,
Yeah.
again, I think it's subtle, but it's good enough to get us to talk about it and make us feel like this is a at least an incremental step in the right direction.
Agreed.
And then the last one here is a little bit more boring, I would say, but it's more in this industry of search, of digital marketing, and Semrush has been a big player in this space for a while. This is where uh, you kind of they have a suite of products that helps you track and optimize your search results. If you're a brand, and also like do research on your competitors and all that kind of stuff. But they were doing it in the era of traditional SEO, which is search bar based. Go to Google search. Uh, some people would use Bing and other second, third order search platforms, but they're realizing that hey, AI is only beginning to take over this space, and let's be ahead of the curve and kind of like shift our focus to being not just SEO forward, but like discovery and AI, LLM forward, right? It's understanding all those things. Like GEO is the new kind of thing that they're trying to leverage as the you know the term that they're going to be using, and it seems like it's starting to take a little bit of a hold in the industry. So I think that this is it's a nice little modern tech forward change. The purples, the blues, uh, but it's also done in a sleek way. It doesn't feel like soulless per se. So I think that at a glance here in this little bento box snapshot, you can kind of feel like what they're going after, and I do like it. I think it's an improvement from what they had before. We also have this little video that kind of showcases it.
Hmm.
So it's a full minute long, but you get the gist there of seeing the brand being used in action, from the typography to the colors and patterns. And I like how they used it in the visualization of like the charts and the data. That to me is like an ultimate expression of the brand, like not just, oh, cool, this is what the logo and like some colors look like. Like this is actually how it gets implemented at the UI level, and what people kind of look at when they're accessing the platform and using their tools. So, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, you're gonna see this more and more in the tech industry. I think tech businesses outside of like their use and what they do, I think have always been a little creative less, if you will, and they've shied away from like they shied away from good branding and good creative just because they've kind of had a foothold in the market. And I think that now with the inception and the onset of AI and its capabilities and what it's doing, I think you're going to see this more and more in the tech industry. Like tech companies have to get creative, they have to market, they have to showcase why they're different and why you should use them in a way that they didn't have to in the past because they had a foothold in the market and they were the leaders in the market, if you will. So and this is more tech. Kind of like Silicon Valley tech, not necessarily like old tech like Apple or whatnot that have always done a really good job with marketing. So yeah, I think it's a great job, and you're going to see more and more of this. I think I sent you a snippet the other day of the brand fathers that were talking about this specifically, like how the tech industry is starting to come around to understanding that they got to market a lot better. They got to market in general, because they don't have a foothold market anymore.
There's too many disruptors on the horizon for them to sit and stand pat. It's a necessary part of the evolution of tech. And the question that I kind of drew here was like, are we at the end of like SEO tools and at the beginning of that whole discovery and visibility platforms? And I think and this is the ultimate signal. If you have a brand that's been established and still has a good market cap and has customer base and all that stuff, you wouldn't do this unless you felt some level of threat, right? Even if you're still like growing year over year, or I don't even know what their financials are honestly, but this is definitely a signal that they're trying to stay ahead of the curve, because that what's happening now is going to happen so rapidly that a year or two from now it's a whole different ballgame.
You have to. I could do this very thing on Perplexity right now. Like you have to market. You have to try to stand out. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be a market for businesses like this. There is. Like there's going to be people that don't want to dive into the agentic AI and build out their own platforms. I get it, but you have to, because there is competition. Like people like us will probably go towards, and we have a cloud or a Perplexity Computer, because we know enough to be able to get around paying for something like this, So yeah, they have to get out there. They have to put their name out there. They have to look sleek. They have to look different, and they have to market.
100%. And so that kind of wraps up the brand refresh side of things. And really the next discussion here is one that we could talk about for a bit, is the state of AI. More personally for us, we've been diving into Perplexity Computer because of the full suite of capabilities it's brought to us and really to the space. And kind of here on X, it shows the rollout. This was back on February 25th, but they've had other subsequent updates and features. But if we take a little look at this video, it's a minute and a half. We won't play all of it, but we'll talk through it because there's no voiceover. But it's just showing like the multi-step side to this this whole like agentic approach. I hate the word agentic, by the way, but it's really the best way to explain it right now. The fact that it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers deep into doing tasks for you and shows you the thinking is what makes it so impressive. Like being able to troubleshoot live and show you why it's doing something, and then going back and adjusting or changing the way it approaches it based on, I'm running into this error, this is happening. So again, I think that they're obviously on the heels of Claude Cowork and OpenClaw coming out and kind of like having that remote computer that you can operate and do things
which
for
they already teased.
Yeah, correct. So that to me is what's been so impressive. The research was already there, but it's like it helps you code, it helps you deploy certain things, it does certain aspects of a project step by step. So JC, I know you've been diving into this a lot. I know you have a lot of thoughts here. So what's your first thought here when it comes to Perplexity?
I've been diving into it way too much. I'm probably spending too many credits, but you have to, you either dive in or you don't, right? You have to either become like, this has to become part of your workflow. And we talked about workflow a lot, you and I, as like AI and how these things help. The computer is great. I think, not joking, I think like you do have to be careful because you can, it does cost, and the whole credits thing is tricky. So you have to be very careful with that. I think I think this is more of a game changer to me personally. It's more of a game changer than what AI was. AI is great, and AI is great at aggregating information throughout the web, and that was always great. But this takes AI to a completely different level. Like now, this is taking care of tasks for you. This is coding for you. This is not just telling you these are the steps that you need to take. They're doing the steps for you. The computer is able to log in to an email for you. The computer is able to send an email for you. Able to have an agent waiting 5 days later and looking out for emails to stay on top of whatever task you wanted it to accomplish. Like that is insane. That is absolutely insane and game changing. So to me, that's one. The ability for it to stay on top of tasks, not only today, but also like 5 days, 30 days ahead of schedule or in your workflow. Perplexity in general, though. So I dove into it, like 3-4 months ago. I think you were like, oh, download Comment. I downloaded it. It was clunky in the beginning. I didn't love it, but like any tech, you have to let it work out its kinks and its bugs. But to me, like Perplexity right now, with the ability for it to, it has the assistant feature where like on Comment, where you could be searching something and then you could pop up right next to it. It'll take over your screen and it'll do really anything that you want it to. It'll fill out forms for you. It'll get it to sign in. It'll do whatever you want. To me, the whole ecosystem of Perplexity right now is leaps and bounds ahead of anything else. Like if you put Perplexity Computer against Cloud, I'm sure Cloud kicks its ass. But to me, the entire ecosystem of Perplexity and what it's building is really the game changer, and is really like where they're taking leaps and bounds over everybody else. The fact that they can aggregate from different AI platforms is huge, right? There you can dive into the cloud, you can dive into Gemini, you can dive into all of these. So I love Perplexity. I love Computer. I can't wait till they come out with the physical computer part where you're able to the personal computer. I want that too. I'm all in on Perplexity. And I said this to you a while back. I think the biggest thing that people need to hone in on right now with the AI is, do not try to keep up with the Joneses. Do not try to get the newest AI that comes out. All these AIs are pretty similar. All these GPTs are pretty similar. What you should do, and what I think my advice to anybody would be, is try to hone in on one or two systems that really help your entire workflow, that you can connect your entire workflow to. Because if you're there sitting and swifting through 5 or 10 different GPTs and different platforms, you're going to drive yourself fucking nuts. So building something out that is a cohesive and consistent workflow that you can continuously dive into. And that's why I love Perplexity, because it really just takes over my entire workflow. Like no matter where I'm at, I can tap into Perplexity. I can tap into the assistant. and it knows it knows of my work and knows of my habits, because it's picking up, because it's all in the same system. So that's what I have, and we could be here for hours talking about Perplexity and Computer, but yeah, it's, to me, the last 2 weeks has been just, the last month has been mind blowing as to the advances that we've taken.
Yeah, and I think the other side of the coin has been that you have brands like OpenAI and ChatGPT kind of taking a hit during this process, because
Huge.
it feels like with the rise of Claude and with the rise of Perplexity and even the rise of Gemini, that they have taken both the share of attention and as well as people switching over, because they feel that they're better at certain things over GPT. And so that to me is what's been like not really too shocking, but seeing it happen at this rate so soon is what's a little bit of an alarming thing, right? Because I thought that they were still going to be in control for like at least the remainder of the year, and then it's like we're not even in the summer, and I hear people switching over and literally removing their subscriptions and getting either Gemini, Claude, or Perplexity. So
Both of us did.
yeah, that's
You
exactly
asked
what
me
we.
the other day. You're like, "What did you do with your Chat GPT?" I'm like, I went down to the basic,
Yeah,
and I'm probably gonna delete that too and just have like the free version, because
yeah,
I don't use it.
yeah, yeah. I've only gone back to it because I've had threads of other things that I've done so far. But with the use, like with Perplexity being able to access all these different models, it's like you're already getting GPT within it. You just gotta like
Correct.
reorganize it how you want it. Um, as well as like other tools from the visual and creative standpoint. Like I have an Adobe subscription, I have Adobe Firefly, and then you can use the GPT visual model. I can use the Gemini Nano Banana one. So to me, it's like if I only was using GPT even for like visual stuff, now I don't need to open it up. I have another platform that has direct access to it. And yeah, and even from the more creative workflow, I think you have things like Free Pick, you have things like
Yeah.
Weavy, and a few others. I believe Luma is another one that is recently kind of going into that node-based multi-step that you just kind of like rig and connect these different prompts and nodes to build out what you want, from a text-based prompt to an image to a video to anything in between. So back to your point, I think it's important that people really chime in on and hone in on the platforms that they are going to use the most and what works for you, because I know people that use those different platforms I mentioned, great, and it works for them. They're not like using all of them. They tried some, they like some more over the others, and it's really finding your your perfect stack when it comes to these tools. And now also,
You're not showcasing, by the way.
oh,
It's
it's
not on the
not yet.
screen.
Yeah, so going back to this here, you have Claude also enabling you to use your computer. So if you have a Mac Mini and you had it set up with the computer setup, you can actually remotely access your your Claude setup and be able to operate remotely. So it's like having that access that you can send the message and it's gonna like be using your whatever. If you have a Mac Mini or some other kind of setup for that, it's happening now. So just the also the scalability and removing the friction of like, oh, I need to physically be there to do some of this stuff. It's rapidly changing, and even I believe this came out today or yesterday, but Apple now is opening up. We were talking about GPT. They kind of now made it so that Siri is open to all models. So it's not just doing, it's like it ends their OpenAI exclusive, partnership. So you can use other things like Claude or Gemini and whatnot in with Siri. So it's
Good.
showing that like you no longer have this stranglehold of the industry, and it's happening very fast, and from the partner level to like the feature level within the platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what's been kind of
Have you
crazy
used
here.
Claude? Claude?
I've used Claude a little bit, and pretty much I think that it's great when it comes to the code side of it. Like if you talk to a developer, they'll tell you like Claude is the is the way to go. Like it's what, and it's funny when you see Perplexity Computer do anything dev based, they choose the Claude model when they're doing that portion of it. So it's that's why I love Perplexity. Like, cool, we're using Claude. We're also using these other things that it makes more sense. And they just integrated one that's like an NVIDIA model, which I don't necessarily know what it's good for yet, but you go and open it up and you can like, you go to search here and now you have all these models. You have their proprietary one in Sonar. You have GPT, Gemini, Claude, both Sonnet and Opus, and then they have Numatron, which again, I haven't really understood what it's for. I think it's for like very deep level, either GPU based or developer kind of focused tasks. So that one, I don't know how much I'll use it. I think if I use the computer model and it decides to use it, that's the only way. But I have to learn a little bit more about it to really decide whether it's worth using or focusing on. But
yeah, for sure. The whole thing with Perplexity too is like is the skills, right? Putting together those skills. And one of the cool things again about Perplexity is you can talk to the assistant on Perplexity, and it helps you optimize how you use computers. So I've been using the skills, and I've been setting up skills so that whenever we get a new client or whatever the case may be, I'm popping in that skill, and then it's doing research. It's helping me put the proposals together. And like I told you, like, I'm not on the design side necessarily. Like, I use design very lightly. Most of my design is on Canva. So I don't really love, and I don't mess with any of the design stuff outside of like setting up for you guys or, the other day free picks. But to me, the fact that like Perplexity, I can now streamline my proposals, streamline my onboarding, and I can have an agent helping me with the onboarding part, and that it ties into Notion is insane. Yeah. Like the ability for it to create a page on Notion, create a proposal on Notion, and then send it out to the client. Like that whole system is just streamlining the workflow so much for me in the last 2 weeks.
The comment, the browser portion of it too is also very powerful, because like even if it doesn't have direct access to a certain platform or app, if you open it up on the browser and you tell it that you're gonna, I need you to, I gave it like an example that's not even important, but I needed to fill out a bracket for March Madness. Okay, cool. And I even asked it, I'm like, hey, give me 3 different like breakdowns of one that's like chalk, one that's like a little bit risky, and the one that's like a hybrid. And then cool, I like this one. Now I opened up my bracket and I said, fill it in. And so it started going in and filling it in for me. And then I went in at the end and then I tweaked some elements of it of like, oh, I think this matchup's going to go this way instead. But the fact that that's something that's, not that important, but let's say that you're doing some sort of visual image generation on Adobe Firefly or Midjourney. You have that browser open and you say, hey, I want you to prompt it these different things. And it could do it for you. So to me, that's what makes it very powerful, that like if you know what you're going to do and you can kind of like step by step inform it, it will start doing those tasks for you, whether it has a direct connection to that app or you have a browser open with it. So it's an incredible tool that we're just learning and kind of like using more and more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, I built the whole sales HQ. I was telling you the other day, like an entire inbound to outbound pipeline with I think it was like 5 or 6 different agents that are following up on a weekly basis. 2 weeks ago, I built it out so that it can help me go and aggregate and bring in grants that it would take me probably a few days a week to research and to look up, because you just don't have the time, where it's literally bringing it to me, telling me the steps I need to take to be able to fill in that grant. And then in a lot of ways, filling it out for me. So like that's insane. That's like a game changer for all of us. So again, it's using these tools to be able to enhance what you already do and speed things up as an agency. Like we've been able to speed things up in our workflows and our processes and in our systems, so that we can scale, not necessarily scale fast, but scale smart. And with these things in place where we have them set up. So I mean, again, we could be here all day talking about this shit, man.
For sure. Yeah, and if anyone that's tuning in has like a thought or a question about AI, we can always come back to it. But we'll move forward with the creative campaign side of it, and we saw this McDonald's UK campaign, which is really like an anti-ad campaign. It's focused more on the end user, and there was this insight where they saw that people that pretty much would go out at night, whether they're out at a club or at a party or something, that if you go through their camera roll, you end up seeing a photo of like Mickey D's or like a burger or like them grabbing a meal late night because they need food to sober up or to like, just cap off the night. And so this video kind of sums it up here. And it does a pretty good job of like kind of showing the backstory.
That's funny. So many pictures. There's no volume on it, by the way. I don't know if you're hearing the volume.
Yeah, it has music, but it's probably better for it not to like play. But
yeah, for sure.
What's cool just showing visually here, seeing McDonald's pop up and showing like as you go through the night, like it ends up with at Mickey D's, right? And pretty much showing here is like that universal fan truth is that instead of hiring actors and influencers for this, is like they focused on real customers, and they showed their camera rolls, at least portions of it. I'm sure there's certain things that people didn't show, but it's cool so the insight here was like when you scroll to the very end of almost any night out, wedding, concert, birthday party, the final photo isn't the event itself. It's a blurry low res shot of the Big Mac in the taxi or a greasy takeaway bag on the kitchen counter. And so that's really cool, a cool insight. And you obviously have to be a massive brand of scale to be able to pull this off or to be able to say this. Like this isn't a mom and pop that would only work in like a really small neighborhood. Like for you to say like a massive part of the UK and do this is kind of a cool insight that it's an anti-ad in the sense that it's more of just like showing it's very like UGC forward, right? And it's just like putting the consumer first and just showing like, hey, we happen to be a part of your some of your best nights. So
yeah, but that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Like I feel like we are leaning into that stuff more and more as viewers in general, because we were fed for the last 10, 15 years such polished bullshit that people want the rawness. People want, that non-polished, that they want the raw, they want the real. So I think they're leaning into that 1000%. It's relatable. Yeah. Go Free Teachers just said it. Steph, it's the relatability. It's being able to connect with that end user. That's 1000% the truth. And we're seeing that more and more. Again, we've talked about that ad nauseum. We're seeing that more and more where brands are leaning into like that's why McDonald's and Burger King tried to do this, BS CEO eating the burger, which ended up, they fell flat on their face. But that's them trying to lean into that. That's them trying to lean into like the behind the scenes, the founder story, all that type of stuff. It just came out very cold and fake. But yeah, more brands are trying to lean into it. This McDonald's doing it right, as opposed to a couple of weeks ago where they didn't.
This is the zag. This is like zigzagging, right? As things go more one way, you take an opposite approach, and this is how you have to mix in your strategy, because if this starts a trend where like every big brand starts doing it, then it's gonna like you're gonna draw fatigue and people aren't gonna care as much, and then the pendulum's gonna swing the other way. So I think that these are just things to track and understand where things are, and you could tell the pendulum swinging towards raw, real, user generated, lower res, less produced approach that people feel like it's you're removing the filter that potentially could hide BS and making it much more of an authentic raw experience for people to engage with.
Correct.
So again, that was McDonald's. Another cool little Nike spot here that came out. Kevin Durant actually surpassed Michael Jordan, I believe, last week in all-time scoring list.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, so he moved into 5th all-time, and so Nike also keep in mind here, one of the nicknames for Kevin Durant is the Slim Reaper, and so they did this.
That's funny.
I don't know if you guys can hear the audio here or not.
No.
Either way, you can kind of see what they're doing, which is like they're showing the number of points he scored and how it's being scratched out as he passes those different milestones. And so what they're doing here is they're sharpening a scythe, and it has the KD logo, and the scythe actually happens to be the shape of the Nike swoosh. So it's a really clever, simple little thing. You could tell that they did. It was very like macro shots, and they could have done this just in a studio, very controlled environment. And I think they had some other follow-ups with this, or like other fan art, or people like took this and ran with it, because it is such a cool concept to like take a nickname and bring it to life, and then inject your brand by making your logo the scythe itself. I thought that was a really cool touch. That they rolled this out pretty fast. I think that they knew he was creeping on their the record, and they must have been working on this for at least like a couple weeks to roll it out. So I just wanted to call that one out. I don't know if you have any thoughts here.
No, I love that. That Nike is usually on point with these type of things. So yeah, they did a great job per the usual.
Yeah. And then another one that I initially thought was an ad, but it was just pretty much like a joke, was like Presidente turns the Perdomo strikeout. So for those that don't know, the World Baseball Classic passed, and then this was a semifinal matchup between the U.S. and the Dominican Republic, and there was a questionable strikeout where when you look back, it looks like it was a ball instead of a strike, and they're kind of like sort of blaming that as like, hey, the game was close, that wasn't fair, and they struck him out and basically cost him the game. So Presidente being a Dominican beer, someone kind of made this mock-up of, nuestro orgullo no se puede ponchar, so like you can't strike out our passion or our love for the game. And so it was a kind of a cool little execution that you could tell it's AI, but it's done so cleverly and smart, and it was like touching on a cultural moment that a lot of people of Dominican descent, or that were fans of the Dominican Republic, were either sharing or talking about this in the baseball community. So what are your thoughts here, JC?
My thoughts are Dominicans love their Presidente.
Yeah.
It is it is like I don't know what beer we would have that would equate. I guess it used to be Budweiser, but not anymore. But they they love their Presidente. So this is awesome. It's funny, and it's just it is what it is. But go ahead.
Yeah, and what's cool is that it's like commentary without, like, they didn't roll this out. They didn't go and print all these cans, even though they could have. But they, I think that this is just showing that like you could have commentary in a creative way as a brand with the use of tools like AI, or even if you want to do a traditional like Photoshop mock-up way, if you have someone that's talented to do that. But this looks just as good as a Photoshop mock-up, honestly. So to me, this was a smart little way to chime in on a topic that's so relevant to their audience and to a cultural moment in their world, essentially.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do it. Vestido de novia is the way that they call it, which is the glass bottle with the ice on it. Whenever you go to the Dominican Republic, they call it vestido de novia, that's like their thing. They love that. Yeah.
So that was it from the creative campaign standpoint. We do have a couple other, open floor. So we're opening it up. So if anyone has questions, or if you have any other kind of things that you've come across that you feel like we should talk, this is your moment. But we'll talk about other little off the cuff stuff that we came across. Like there's this idea of this AI cow collar that helps them kind of like herd cows, and it helps them like optimize for farmers specifically how to like see where they are on a map and help them kind of like track and understand how things move, and it helps them pretty much be much more in tune with the operations of their farm and like their cattle. What I loved about it was this term that says that they have it says raises at a $2 trillion valuation, I think this is, or $2 billion
algorithm.
Yeah, the Owlgorithm is amazing. So we started the Owlgorithm, and Now we're venturing into the Owlgorithm, and I don't know what else is going to come out of this, but we're a fan of the occasional pun. And it's crazy how, like, we were talking about the state of AI, like AI has reached farms and cows. So that's where we are, guys. We're literally at the stage where nothing is untouchable when it comes to tech and and AI really at this point. So that was
it's everywhere.
Yeah. And then another kind of point, we talked about search and SEO and where things stand. There's this video, which, since the audio isn't playing for some reason, we'll just, kind of talk to it. You can see here what he's talking about, which is that Google ads are the new yellow pages. And it's so true. Like, Gary makes the point where over the past year, he hasn't used Google search pretty much at all. And I start to think of my behaviors, and I'm like, I'm using it less and less. And I know that there's still people that are using, they're stuck with their habits and behaviors, and they're still using Google search. But I think that Band-Aid is being pulled off slower and slower. And there's going to be an inflection point where it's going to be less than 50%. And that's going to be a big point. And then it's going to be less than 30%. And it's going to, like, get to the point where you're talking about, like, AOL level of irrelevance, right? Like, AOL used to be the gateway to the internet and finding and discovering things. And Google search has been that for a while. Now, they still have Gemini, and you'll still search and use their tools in different ways. But AI as a tool and all these different models have made it where how they had a stranglehold of something like search and then serve ads in there. Like, it's clearly shifting massively. So brands have to consider what that means for them. If they're using Google ads, like, is there a sunset period where you're still advertising because you're still seeing results, but take into consideration that maybe over time you either start shifting and testing other channels that can offset that, whether that's within AI or other channels that don't leverage AI. Regardless, keep this in mind, because there will be a point where Google ads is pretty much irrelevant, and you're basically going to have a billboard in the middle of the desert that nobody can click on because nobody's searching there anymore. So yeah. Jason, what are your thoughts on this?
No, we've been talking about it for a while. I agree. It's not gone yet, but it's definitely on the trajectory down. And he goes further on in this video to talk about at the end of the day, where is your biggest ROI as a business, right? And he talks about at the end, organic social, which I agree. We all agree. Organic social, test it on organic social, put money behind the content that performs the best on our organic social. And that has been the playbook. That has been our internal kind of calling card and playbook for a while. We've talked about that, and we will continue to talk about that, because that is the way that the market is going. That is the way that all of this is going. Is social's going to win. It's going to continue to win for the next 5 to 10 years. And Google Ads and the traditional Google Ads, SEO, etc., that is going away. That is not a pipe dream. That is not something that we're talking in a bunker somewhere. That is happening right now. It's happening, and it's more and more every day with the onset of all the tools that we have. So does that mean that search is going away? No, it just means that search is going to be combined with discoverability, and that means that the way that people discover your brand or find out about your brand is changing. That traditional Google it, like my grandfather used to say, that is going away, and it's going to be gone in a year, 2 years, if not quicker. You were talking about earlier, like, that you felt that ChatGPT was going to have some competition in the next couple of years. And we didn't expect for ChatGPT to be almost, like, not obsolete, but it's like you have all these other tools that are aggregating ChatGPT, Claude, and different things where you don't necessarily need a ChatGPT now. You don't need an OpenAI. So that's happening right now with Google. Now, Google has a whole other level, which is YouTube, which is the way that they, that Gemini pulls information and pulls for search. So they have a whole other level, but again, he talks about it at the end of this video, and I can't scream loud enough. Like, build your organic social, build the different types of contents that you're putting out, create different type of content, and really hone in on that. And then the data is right there. It's being given to you on a day-to-day basis. The content that does well, you boost it. The content that does well, you put it for ads. Like, it's very simple. The system is becoming simpler and simpler, but people are trying to complicate it more and more. And that's going to be the blueprint moving forward. So if you're a business, lean in on storytelling, lean in on production, lean in on content, lean in on organic social, and lean in on understanding how to put money behind the social that wins and the organic social that wins. It's that simple.
Yeah. And then I guess the other end of the spectrum is try to also not neglect the other stuff that happens IRL. So in-person activations, events, pop-ups, sampling, whatever, depends on the industry you're in, community events, like all this stuff that's happening online, you're getting more and more saturated. So basically there's more competition, and you're fighting for attention with other brands and other platforms and all these things happening. So your ability to carve a small audience and get attention and awareness, and then gather them offline and get them to show up somewhere for you, is the ultimate proof that you actually have a brand and a community that people care about. Because you can get all these vanity metrics and all these clicks and whatever, and sure, some of it could convert to sales, but that ends up fading if you're reliant on just running Google ads or just doing organic social or just doing. So it's really like you have to go back to doing an entire ecosystem and pick which channels and what avenues are going to be the most effective for you, because leaning in on just one isn't the answer anymore. You have to find like the select few that work for you. I also don't believe, like, Gary Vee also used to be the one that tells you to do all of it. That's also idealistic, right? Like, sure, I could be on all these. I have a TikTok account, I have a LinkedIn account, I have X, I have Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff. I'm only active in like two of them, So it's tough to be as active on 5, 6, 7 unless you have the resources in the team. Pick your lanes, but make sure that you're doing more than just one thing.
Yeah, agreed.
And then this last one here, again, we won't play it since the audio isn't really working, but you can sell here. See if I can zoom in a little bit, but it's kind of showing the content pyramid approach. And his entire talk here is about this idea of like, when a brand just asks for like a hero video that's kind of like narrative driven storytelling, high level discussion on like the brand, like a campaign to like introduce it to the world, and it's the story, it's great and all, but it's hard to push the needle and tangibly attribute that to sales. So the model here is using a content pyramid where you have the hero asset, but while you're there, you're also capturing smaller, more micro, short form pieces of content that could be used as tactical tools for ads that are more like consideration or conversion based, right? So like, you're not just putting all this money, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into like an amazing, highly produced video that's edited, but you're also getting, while you're out there, using that same energy and that same kind of moment while you're capturing that main video to then do these other, what he's calling like shoulder assets. He usually gets like 8 to 10 different pieces of content that get thrown out as reels and shorts and other things, shorter form videos that not just tell the story, but talk about the product or talk about the benefits or talk about specific things that get people more down the funnel to actually being able to purchase or actually buy whatever you're selling. So I think it's a smart approach, a smart strategy, and it helps you tie yourself to some more results than just like this. Oh, I have this beautiful hero video, but then they just sit on it or they don't know what to do with it after that, other than putting it on your website and putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, no, it's and it goes back to like the organic. It goes back to the behind the scenes. People want that, like that rawness. They want what's actually behind the curtain story of a brand. And I think that that again, this is kind of in that lane, right? Of being able to tell that story. It's not just that super highly produced video. It is all the content that you're going to get that surrounds that super highly produced video. In a lot of ways, it's the way that, like, when you specifically develop a brand, and I've seen this when you do this, when you develop the visual of a brand, you're always very conscious of like developing the assets that go with that main logo, right? What are the icons? What are the symbols? What are those other assets that surround that main logo? And it's the same concept. It's like your main logo is amazing, but it's like how is your main logo, and how are the assets that you're producing showing up on socials? How are they showing up on emails? How are they showing up on the website? And how do they continue to tell the story outside of that main logo? And I think this is exactly the same thing, right? It's how much other content can you get that supports that main video and continues to tell that story outside of that main video. So yeah, I agree, and this is along the lines of how we feel and how we kind of look at content. But he says it in a very eloquent way. I don't love how he calls it shoulder assets. I feel like there's a better phrase, but yeah, he's right.
Yeah, and I think going back to the point about brand identity, and why we always like when people come to us and say, "Yeah, I just want to like redo my logo," like we kind of like guide them towards the idea of, let's look at your identity. Let's look at all these other factors that are truly important, and not just the logo. Because I always refer to like the logo, like changing your logo is like saying, you know what, I'm just going to change my hat, but keep everything else the same and walk out the door and expect people to treat me differently or look at me differently. And that's not how it works. It's how you walk out that door. It's how you compose yourself and interact with other people. It's every other aspect of your wardrobe, the shirt, the shoes, the cologne you're wearing, whatever you're wearing, glasses, or you have an earring, do you have any other kind of jewelry or accessories? All the details go into it. And because people they judge you at a moment's notice in a matter of seconds, if not minutes, and that you need to have all that thought out. And so when you're gonna do that, what better way to do it than think through the entire wardrobe and the way you're composing and all that stuff, and then on top of it, guess what? You have a story to tell about, why I'm wearing this shirt? It's because actually when I took a trip to Italy and I walked into this small shop, I spoke to this person. You have a story to be able to go through and give like meaning behind what you're wearing and why you're wearing it. Same thing with, I'm wearing this chain because it's an heirloom that it was passed down from my great grandfather when they immigrated from Cuba, or something like that. Those are all things that really give it meaning. And when people talk about storytelling, it's not this like fluff piece that you can just type into an AI platform and spit it out for you. It's like, dig deep, ask those questions, and see like what's something compelling that people can relate to. And then that's what you build your brand around. And then visually you decide how that manifests and how that gets shown. So I think this is just another aspect of that. It's, yes, the hero is like, cool, we're making this dope video that kind of sums it all up, but here are these micro moments or these little kind of adjacent satellite things that we can pull in to kind of build that everything that goes into the story and the identity that you're trying to portray. So
agreed.
That's my soapbox rant when it comes to this. But I don't know if you have anything else that kind of wraps up the end of our open floor and Q&A session. I don't see any other questions. I see actually Romina. Shout out to Romina, who's attended a few of the creative mornings recently. She's a creator herself and actually really into this. Like, so it's really cool to have someone that has been doing this for a while to tune in. So yeah, the pyramid approach, we totally are on board with it, and we feel like it's any creator, any brand, any agency should read into it and think through how they kind of leverage this for themselves and for their clients. JC, I don't know if you have any parting notes.
No, here. just because we're on it, and a lot of the times it's such a low ticket item to just have somebody go out and capture BTS or whatever the case may be, compared to like the big budget that you may have for that entire campaign or the entire like, it's easy to build that into the budget. But to his point, like the ROI that you get out of that and get out of that that content that surrounds it, and that extended content is in a lot of ways probably as good of an ROI as you're going to get on that main hero video. So, yeah, big believer in that. No, man, excited to be wrapping up another one. We'll be back in 2 weeks. I love this time, by the way. This is, I feel like, a good time for us. So let's continue. And I think I really want to dive. I feel like there's a really interesting niche that we can start to talk about with this whole AI thing and like the workflow. I feel like probably more than not, there's a lot of either creators, operators, entrepreneurs that are feeling the same way that we're feeling right now, like trying to figure this thing out. And I feel like we just talking to you about it today, even though we talk every day, like gave me some ideas to now build into my workflow. So, and I'm sure that others feel that way just listening to us. So I'd love to dive into that more here moving forward. I think that's a pressing item, especially in our industry.
Yeah, and I think my final note on the AI thing is, even though if you are in tune with it, it could seem so overwhelming with the speed and the amount of updates and news that comes out. But in reality, adoption doesn't move at that speed. So
Correct.
It's not like, oh, because they just rolled out, I don't know, Perplexity Computer, personal computer, Claude did this or Gemini did that. It doesn't mean that tomorrow everyone's waking up and using it. There's still a gradual shift behaviorally. Like people still, like their rituals and their behaviors. It takes a bit to get people to shake them out of what their routine is. So don't be alarmed and feel like, oh, there's so much that I can't really keep up. There's still an opportunity. And I would say that we are probably in the 5-10% of people that are jumping head first and being able to try this out. It still hasn't even hit anywhere near peak. So, but again, it's better to experiment and get your hands on it sooner than later so that you don't find yourself 2-3 years down the road starting from scratch. And all these tools are so advanced that you really feel behind. Because I would say, yes, in 2 years, this is going to look so drastically different that, had you not even started to at least wrap your mind around it and mess around with some of these tools, that it will be very difficult and you will be forced into it as opposed to like easing into it, how you can do it now.
Yeah, and again, just to kind of leave off on this, don't try to feel like every platform is a necessity to have or a necessity to dive into. Like you could test things out, but you need to figure out what platform is good for your workflow and for what you do. And that is not every single platform. That is not every single piece of technology or AI that's out there. So figure out what works for you, figure out what works for your workflow. And then when you feel comfortable with it and you feel like that's the best route forward, dive into that and really build out the system so that it helps you and assists you and it takes your work to the next level. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody.
For sure. All right, everyone. Well, appreciate you all. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 14. And until then, have an amazing week and we'll see you on the other side. Peace.
See ya. Peace.